Tonight, combating extremism in Europe. Denmark is often referred to as the happiest place on earth, but its sense of peace and serenity was shell-shocked earlier this year when an Islamic extremist shot and killed 2 people in Copenhagen. The country, like other European nations, is struggling to stop its citizens from joining the Islamic State group and other terrorist organizations in Syria. NewsHour special correspondent Malcolm Brabant caught up with one devastated mother who is urging the government to do more to stop the tide of extremism.
Right now, I'm just looking for more videos to see if I can get any knowledge about my boy.
Caroline Adam's worst fear came true in the cruelest way. An Islamic State death notice on Facebook alerted her to news that her 18-year-old son Lucas had been killed in an American airstrike on the Syria-Turkey border.
I need peace and quiet. Now I need to get on. I don't want him dead. But I need to know things, and I don't know if he's alive. I don't know if he's in jail or if ISIS has killed him. I don't know anything. It's hard, you can't sleep. I wake up with nightmares everywhere.
But you don't believe he's alive, do you?
No.
How strong was the evidence that he was killed?
There's no evidence.
Lucas had attention deficit disorder and, according to his mother, suffered from relatively serious autism. After dabbling in petty crime, he was put in a home for vulnerable teenagers. He became a Muslim a year after this video was taken.
I don't want to classify my son as a terrorist because he's not. My boy is the victim in all this. He has been manipulated, he has been abused, and pushed into this fight that he and others can't win.
Lucas fell under the spell of hardline groups like Hizb ut-Tahrir, an international party that campaigns for Sharia law and a worldwide caliphate.
So first of all, I'd like to tell the enemy to look very closely at this flag, at the black flag, not the white flag, but the black flag, because this is the black flag that US will see. This is the black flag that the US will see coming over the horizon. This is the black flag they will see coming across the Atlantic in front of an army that loves the Prophet, that loves Islam.
Mrs. Dam said she did everything in her power to prevent her son from travelling to Syria. She took away his passport and alerted his social workers.
It's not the easiest task for a parent to keep on calling the authorities, but it is the right thing. The wrong thing is them not doing anything about it.
Mrs. Dam went to Copenhagen City Hall to try to get some answers from one of the deputy mayors. No officials were prepared to talk on camera. Mrs. Dam has received an apology from City Hall for the failings of the system. Officials admitted that social workers should have alerted Copenhagen's de-radicalization program to the fact that Lucas Dam was in danger of going to Syria so that he could have been stopped at the airport. But the program was not informed until 4 months after Lucas left the country. Sources within City Hall tried to shift the blame onto Denmark's intelligence agency, claiming it was twice tipped off about the Lucas Dam case. The agency has refused to comment. But Professor Magnus Ranstorp was willing to discuss the issue. He heads the Copenhagen Anti-Radicalization Task Force, which is due to deliver an action plan in August.
We were looking at how can we improve the system, how can we involve civil society more, how can we involve parents as well. So we are looking over the system to see how we can be more efficient.
This is a recruiting video for the so-called Islamic State, and the key figure is the 21-year-old Dane to the right of the picture. Like Lucas Dam, he was a Christian convert with learning difficulties, named Victor Christensen. After appealing to his Danish brothers and sisters to join jihad, Victor blew himself up in a suicide attack. He was radicalized at this mosque. As part of the effort to neutralize extreme Islamic rhetoric, this Muslim lawmaker, Fatma Özkem, wants to ban certain radical preachers.
We know that the young people are visiting the mosques and they are listening to the religious leaders. So it's very important that people who are talking about religion can talk about peace and harmony and integration, not about hate.
Lawmakers are deeply concerned about the rising influence of groups like Hizb ut-Tahrir and are disappointed that Danish prosecutors have just ruled that it can't be outlawed, as it is in countries like Germany and Russia.
We ought to make sure that Hizb ut-Tahrir is forbidden in this country, as they are in many other countries. And I think that the various ministers of justice have failed, because in our legislation, in our constitution, it says that those kind of groups that work for violence and in a way push for violence should be closed.
Hizb ut-Tahrir insists it is not breaking any laws and attributes its rising popularity amongst young Muslims to what it describes as Denmark's anti-Islamic policies.
It is a clear sign of intellectual bankruptcy in the Danish parliament, because they cannot withstand thoughts with thoughts, they cannot counter arguments with arguments. This is really what we are used to in dictatorships and the like.
Denmark has changed dramatically since the Valentine's Day shootings that killed filmmaker Finn Nørgaard at a free speech forum and security guard Dan Uzan at Copenhagen's synagogue. There is a sense that the country has lost its innocence. Before the attacks, security used to be very discreet. Now the police are overstretched, on full alert in case of a new atrocity. These officers were deployed to protect a Jewish deli close to a mainly Muslim district after it was vandalized. The Valentine's Day shooter, Omar El-Hussein, killed by police in a brief exchange of fire, was a hero for a significant number of Muslims. The government here is investing tens of millions of dollars in various de-radicalization programs to try to dampen enthusiasm for extreme Islam displayed at his funeral. If they return to Western Denmark and the police fail to find evidence that they committed crimes in the Middle East, they'll be offered a place on a rehabilitation program.
We don't roll out the red carpet, but we are there to try to help them reintegrate into the society, because we believe that is the most secure thing we can do in order to protect the society from these young people becoming even more radicalized.
One person with an insight into the minds of the jihadis is Morten Storm, a former Islamic radical who claims to have worked as a double agent for the CIA and helped them target al-Qaeda leaders in Yemen.
I think the authorities have been naive, and at the same time I think it's a disgrace. I think that they are underestimating the ideology and the motivation of these people.
After her City Hall meeting, Carolina Dam talked to one of the officials involved in Copenhagen's de-radicalization program. She curses the Islamic extremists who brainwashed her son and hopes that others can be saved.
I can't do anything about it now. I can do whatever I can to help and prevent it happening again. And that would be in spirit of my son. That's what I need to do.
In the meantime, Mrs. Dam has little alternative but to continue her lonely search among the Islamic State videos online, despite ISIS's announcement that Lucas was killed. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Malcolm Brabant in Copenhagen.